Full Disclosure is providing a comprehensive expose of the successes and failures of gang programs across the nation, and especially Los Angeles. Leslie Dutton of Full Disclosure interviewed the major players in LA's gang programs, revealing the multi-million-dollar ideas being promulgated by Mayor Villaraigosa and his new deputy mayor, Reverend Carr. This is the first in the series, all about the new and expensive gang reduction and youth development program.
And the $1 million figure was for all of them?
No. $1 million in each one of the 12. So $12 million for prevention and $500,000 for intervention in each of the 12 areas, $6 million. And then we have about $2.4 million that we've set aside for some smaller hot spots outside of those 12 areas for prevention and intervention. So our total investment that'll actually go out in contracts outside the city is over $20 million for prevention and intervention.
I don't see anything new and innovative about anything that he proposes, except we're pouring a whole lot more money into the same failed system.
You know, for the last 20, 25 years, until the last couple years, really it'd be better to say we had a mass incarceration strategy, that we as a government and as a society sort of punted the problem to law enforcement, and law enforcement has done their job. So the problem has not been that police haven't been arresting enough people. The problem is that you, as Chief Bratton says, you can't arrest your way out of the problem.
Los Angeles Civic activist David Hernandez is concerned that this program is doomed to failure, that city officials are ignoring or concealing an all-out race war between local gangs.
You have Sheriff Baca, who was the first to admit that you have deliberate killings of African Americans, whether they're in gangs or not, by Latino gangs as a business strategy to take over the drug trade in specific areas of the city. But you have a police chief who refuses to acknowledge that. You have a mayor who refuses to acknowledge that.
Reverend Carr is planning to augment the current suppression effort by law enforcement with Mayor Villaraigosa's two-pronged strategy.
Then we need to have both a prevention and an intervention and reentry strategy. So around prevention, we're really focused on trying to keep kids from joining gangs in the first place, cut off the supply of kids who think that joining a gang is a realistic option. And then the second strategy is around intervention. How do you actually intervene in the lives of young people who've already made, to one degree or another, a commitment to being a part of a street gang? And then how do we actually extricate them from being involved in that gang and that lifestyle and the negative criminal lifestyle, and put them on an exit ramp from that highway to a more productive life?
Former Sheriff Sergeant Richard Valdemar is skeptical about intervention, getting gang members to renounce their gang affiliation.
The real problem is ex-gang members are very often not ex. I like to ask them, hey, you're an ex-gang member? And the guy will say, yeah, I'm an ex-gang member. So I will ask him, when did you jump out? And who jumped you out? Well, the answer to that is no one, because they didn't jump out. In other words, they never officially left the gang. Usually what we have is a guy who's become an inactive reserve, and he's still part of the military organization. He's still loyal to that particular gang, but he's not active because he's grown older.
The real controversy appears to be who he's hiring to be intervention workers, supposedly former gang members.
On the intervention piece, we're really focused on trying to drive down violence. So we're going to hire gang intervention workers to be out on the streets to try and mediate conflicts between street gangs. Young adults, young men and young women who actually grew up in those neighborhoods, may have had some affiliation with a gang at some point in time, may have actually been incarcerated in the past, but who have decided to redeem their lives and want to bring others along with them. And they're a lot of times doing the intervention.
How do you encourage your workers to reveal to the police department illegal activity, and with overcoming this problem of reluctance of being a snitch?
Well, I think that's a very complex and complicated issue. We're not asking anybody to be a snitch, because if you're asking people to engage, they have to have a level of trust with people who might be participating in criminal activities. We're not saying if you see somebody shot, don't report that you saw somebody shot and killed. But you know, there's the need to maintain and to try and nurture relationships with people who may be participating in criminal activity. It's a very fine line that those people that are doing that work find themselves in. They've got to gain the trust and the credibility of folks who may participate in negative activity to build the kind of credibility they can to get them to maybe think about how they might get out of that lifestyle. If it's perceived that they're just a snitch for the police, you're talking about people that are committing violent crimes, criminal acts. It could put their own life in danger and their ability to actually do the work at all. So I think we're taking people and we're dropping them in the middle of some of the most violent, complex, socially challenging situations with no gun, with no badge. The only thing they have is their good name and their reputation. I don't think we want to put them in a position where we put them at any more risk than they already inherently have put themselves in by choosing a career along these lines.
This is how you know that your community is going to hell. When the kids in your community refuse to report crime, when they refuse to be snitches, okay, that means that they have bought into the criminal culture. Thou shalt not snitch.
Sergeant Valdemar is perplexed by the idea that any gang members would listen to or be influenced by someone outside of their gang. He suggests that intervention workers from other gangs won't be able to mediate or control the warfare between rival gangs.
This idea can only come from a person who completely misunderstands the gang culture. In the gang culture, the highest priority is the gang member. The next priority would be youth at risk. And the lowest man on the totem pole would be a victim, non-gang member. So who do you think is going to influence this situation? It will be the man at the top. That'll be the gang member. The gang member will influence the youth at risk. The youth at risk person will influence the victim. It won't be the other way around. The victim will not influence the youth at risk, and the youth at risk will not influence the gang member. So this system is just based on a complete misunderstanding of the hierarchy of a gang and the influence that street gangs place on your reputation in the criminal world. Now, if you're a Crip, do you think you're going to mediate in the blood territory? No. You will never mediate in the blood territory. And the Bloods are not going to mediate in a Crip territory. This is why they employ Muslims. This is why the Black Guerrilla family brokers the true peace treaties with the black community. And the same thing in the Mexican community. You think two rivals like Lote and Arizona, those are two rival gangs that live next to each other. You think that Lote member was going to mediate with the Arizona gang member, or an Arizona gang member going to mediate with the Lote member? No. Only if the Mexican mafia intervenes. So what we're doing is by having these unions, these peace treaties, is we're placing these street gangs under the authority of prison gangs or worse in the street. And the only way that a gang worker could have the authority to do that would be if they're protected by the hand of organized crime. So, you know, contrary to what they tell politicians, rival gang members do not respect the other rival because he's killed their members or been part of the killing of their members. Only the higher authority of a prison gang or organized crime.
Reverend Carr is optimistic about his ability to redeem hardened criminal gang members.
I mean, I'm a minister by training, and not just by training, but by choice. And I believe in redemption. So it's hard for me to say, you know, somebody who's a gang member, that there's no chance for that person to basically make a 180-degree turn and go in a different direction with their life. I believe that the possibility for that is there for any of us, you know, even hardened gang members. And I know some who have been very much entrenched in that lifestyle, who have committed some very heinous acts, but for any number of reasons have come to the place where they realized that's not the kind of life they want to live, and then they've made a remarkable change and really have redeemed their life.
This is the first of the series. You can find out what works and what doesn't work when dealing with the vicious gang members who commit heinous crimes. You can watch the first 3 installments of this series on your local cable television by checking out our channel listing on the website, or you can purchase a 3-set DVD from Full Disclosure.